That's a big difference.
So the red-headed step prince actually believes there's no difference between being Irish and being British. I'd say if anyone ever deserved to be called dumb cunt of the week, this asshat deserves it.
Have the courage? Is it worth the sacrifice?
Hey, look at this!
Okay, here is where you would insert a fire crotch joke or that girl is on fire.
I don't like it. It was too easy.
He's on the naughty step from PSG. He's not gone on the tour of Japan. Felix, what is it? Shut!
Oh, Johnny, did you back the wrong horse?
I've never questioned the heart and integrity of Joe Biden as a family man and as a human being and the pain and suffering and loss that man has been through, including the struggles he deals with.
30 seconds. The president has made being a family man a central part of his political identity.
It's not Republicans, with all due respect, who made Hunter Biden into a complete scumbag on this and other issues. The ignoring his own daughter for 4 years and the President of the United States hanging up a stocking for the dog and not for his 7th grandchild.
Okay, look. We can also have sympathy for people who are struggling with addiction. Let's keep this conversation respectful.
Listen, I totally agree. And you know where I'm from? A lot of families deal with addiction. And you know who ends up picking up the pieces? The grandparents. And in this case, the grandparents would not acknowledge this little girl. It is offensive, but the bottom line is...
But they have now.
Oh, what a hero. Oh, what a hero. Woo! The polling must have been brutal. The polling must have been brutal.
I'm a federal agent. I will never shut down a store. Whoever's in charge is in charge. The Armenians are down.
Wait, what?
The Armenians are down. I'm not worried about Minos. I'm not worried about Russia. Anybody worried about Putin?
What is wrong with you?
Because this is his pussy. So, if Junior Unit wants to keep playing games, tell Sharif, stay with Sam Slarney. Because all you black men are reneging.
Huh? Did you just have a brain fart?
It's called 1.8 million in gold. You want it? Go to Africa. We gave a black beach back. You don't want it? Stay here. Get off our line. It's the whites and the Latins. Anybody got a problem with it? Because I'm Indian too. I'm Vietnamese. This bitch is trying to free the world. So who's going to sell me my iPhone today? Who's going to sell me the biggest iPhone in this house?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then do and homelessness and all that. And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume. I'm kind of retarded.
We're currently living in a very high-paced, fast-moving time with regards to news and political developments, and it seems like every week we have a batch of stories that are very much worth paying attention to, and then, of course, distractions. And I'm not talking about the low-level distractions like the people that claim that Keanu Reeves is actually Bruce Lee's son, or that Jimi Hendrix faked his death and became Morgan Freeman. I shit you not, people actually put that kind of shit out there, and it's good for a little 2-second chuckle and then you move on. And then there's also the mid-level distractions, the ones that are a little bit more interesting, but they barely even seem to make the news most of the time. Stories like how Skittles is gonna make a new mustard-flavored candy. I don't know who the fuck thought that was a good idea. Or how about the ginger midget who pretended to be a leprechaun so that he could fool over 40 women into banging him in order to get his pot of gold. I understand this might have a lot of people going, "Oh man, that's fucked up," but I look at it like, hey, he's playing the hand that he was dealt. But really, when I say distractions, I'm talking about the stories that the corporate shitbag media tries to ram up my dick hole every fucking day to convince me that it's worth paying attention to that and only that. Shit like the latest Trump indictment news, or the heat wave and global warming and the oceans are gonna rise and we're all gonna drown. They keep saying that the ocean's about to rise like 30 to 50 feet any day now. Of course, when you factor in tides and everything, the maybe 1 centimeter of ocean rise that we've supposedly gotten so far, it could just as easily be explained by the water displacement of what the fuck beachgoers look like now as opposed to 50 years ago. And then, of course, we had another spectacle that the media hyped up this week, these UFO hearings.
Do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Oh yeah, here we got a government intelligence agent claiming that, oh yeah, we've recovered spacecraft and aliens. I don't have any evidence and I never actually saw the shit myself, but someone told me that that's what's up. And as a little side note, right on the heels of that lady, Nancy Mace, actually stood at a podium at a presser and said this.
But want to thank you for pulling this together. Another year, another standing room only event. And when I woke up this morning at 7, I was getting picked up at 7:45. Patrick, my fiance, tried to pull me by my waist over this morning in bed. And I was like, no, baby, we don't got time for that this morning. I got to get to the prayer breakfast and I got to be on time, and a little TMI. But he can wait. I'll see him later tonight. But I was here early today for you, Tim. And I think everybody was here early for you today.
Now, it's weird enough for a politician under any circumstances to get up there and talk about how, oh, I was almost late today because my husband woke up with morning wood and wanted me to catch a stabbing, but I denied him because I wanted to get here on time. But she was talking about being on time for the prayer breakfast.
Why would you do that?
But anyways, back to the UFO hearings. They really seem to be priming the pump for the Project Bluebeam fake alien invasion. And I guarantee you they've got Google Analytics looking at what percentage of the population looks at this and goes, oh wow, there actually is aliens, versus the percent of the population goes, you believe what these sons of bitches are trying to convince us of? And they do that for all kinds of things. That's one of the main reasons that Google was set up by the CIA through In-Q-Tel back in the late 90s. To take the pulse of the public and gauge the response. And especially when it comes to outer space and aliens, I don't know why anyone would believe the government. They've been super secretive and super full of shit since day one. Look at this, if you do a Google search for the Gemini spacewalk, look what pops up. All these modern and or CGI images. You know what doesn't pop up? The original video that they showed to the public. And it's easy to see why. Look how fucking fake this looks. It's no wonder they'd like to pretend like this shit doesn't exist. But apparently, back in 1965, this was enough to be convincing to people. And if they have the technology nowadays to do this kind of shit with Barbie, you don't think they could make a convincing alien invasion? I mean, you're looking at commercially available technology, let alone the secret military technology that no one even knows what it's capable of. Oh, they could make it look real good, real convincing. And I'm not even saying that I think that aliens existing is bullshit. Maybe they do for all I know. I'm just saying that these asshats are the last motherfuckers on Earth I would trust to tell the truth about this. And it's also worth remembering Eisenhower's farewell address. Sure, everybody remembers the part where he warns about the military-industrial complex, but there was also a warning that I feel is just as important.
We must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite.
And besides priming the pump for this fake invasion, this also has the added benefit of giving the public a wonderful distraction, a shiny object to talk about all week long instead of some other stories. Like, I don't know, the chef for the Obamas mysteriously drowning in 8 feet of water. That story went away real quick from the headlines, didn't it? And you had some crazy reports coming out from the first responders. And this guy, if you're on Twitter and you're not following this guy, you're fucking up. He does some good work. And he was on this immediately, and they were saying that when they pulled the dude's body up, that his face was all beat the fuck up like he'd been in a brawl. And this dude had posted Instagram videos of him swimming laps in a pool, so he actually did know how to swim. And this last thing that he posted, he got suspended right after. And the reports of him being with a second paddleboarder, it could have possibly been Barry himself. And now we have an artist's rendering of what this accidental drowning may have looked like. Look, I'm just saying, in the very first pictures taken of him after this went down, he's got his fucking hand bandaged up, and he's got a black eye.
What a coincidence!
But this will end up just getting completely buried. I mean, if they could get away with shooting Gary Webb in the head twice and calling it a suicide, this is nothing. And another story they want people to forget about immediately, the DOJ dropping charges against Sam Bankman-Fried after he looted the coffers of his crypto exchange and used the money for himself and also to donate shit tons of money to political campaigns on both sides of the aisle. Gee, I wonder why he got off. Yeah, it's because both parties are corrupt. One hand washes the other. And now this dude gets to walk. But hey, nothing to see here, right? Just keep it moving. And another story that our overlords decided wasn't important enough to get out to the public at large was the ABC reporter that pled guilty to child porn charges.
Busted.
And this headline says he pled guilty to child rape, but that's not really true. If you actually look and read, he's pleading guilty to possession and transferring child porn, but in the FBI affidavit it said that they found evidence on his devices that he was actively trying to procure children to rape. But it is true that he was the reporter credited with debunking the Pizzagate story. And if you're not familiar with that, it was part of the WikiLeaks email dumps. They noticed a bunch of weird shit talking about this Comet ping pong place. And people got it in their heads that they were raping kids in the basement. So then this guy comes and says, oh, that's gotta be bullshit. This place doesn't even have a basement. Of course, the dude who owns the place, who also happened to be a boyfriend of the guy who runs Media Matters, he himself had posted about how they canned their own tomatoes in the basement. Because a few places down, he owned another pizza place called Besta Pizza, and that place did have a base. But because this reporter came out and said, look, Comet Ping Pong doesn't even have a basement, that means the whole thing is bullshit. So we should all completely stop looking at that stuff because this guy's obviously a paragon of integrity.
What the hell is the world coming to?
And then there was also the Hunter Biden plea deal collapsing, which got the minimal amount of coverage. And basically it boils down to the lawyers tried to slip in blanket immunity for acting as an unregistered foreign agent into a deal dealing with tax evasion and the gun charge. And the judge noticed this and said, I can't sign off on this shit. And then asked, hey, if you don't have the blanket immunity in here for the other things, do you still accept this deal? And Hunter's lawyers said no. But for the people that are out there thinking that somehow this means that he's actually going to be held accountable for his crimes, well, you got another thing coming. In the end, his daddy still controls the DOJ, and they're going to find a way to make sure that all this goes away and Hunter never sees a prison cell.
I am shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
I also want to talk about the India rice export ban. The non-basmati white rice that makes up about a quarter of their total rice production accounts for about 40% of the world's rice supply. And they're blaming it mostly on some climate change bullshit, drought, flood, because of course it's not like there's any kind of technology to make it rain too much or not rain at all, right? But they also mention poor soil fertility and inefficient use of fertilizer. Just last year, there was all these articles telling us that, oh no, reducing nitrogen fertilizer isn't gonna fuck things up. That's misinformation. It's a conspiracy theory, but we need to do it to combat climate change. And now that countries all over the world have cracked down on the nitrogen fertilizer industry, A lot of places are having problems with their crop production, but they're not blaming it on the fertilizer. They're blaming it on the same climate change that they cut the nitrogen fertilizer to try to combat.
Brilliant! Brilliant!
And this is going to drive prices way up, and it is going to cause a lot of problems in a lot of smaller countries, a lot of dirt-poor countries. But really, it's a signpost. It's a symptom of a much larger problem. The forced and deliberate destabilization of our overly independent and overly vulnerable system. Which also reminds me, they're going to have a BRICS summit this month in August in South Africa, where it's been reported that they might be unveiling a new BRICS currency that's backed by gold. Of course, it's also been reported that no, this isn't true, and a gold-backed currency is not going to be on the agenda, so who knows what'll actually happen. But if they were to make this move, which wouldn't be surprising, it could be the final nail in the coffin that spells the downward spiral of the US dollar. The central banks have turned the dollar over the years into a big Ponzi scheme, and like all other Ponzi schemes, eventually it will collapse. And when it does...
Game over, motherfuckers!
I just thought I'd end on a happy note. Sluncha.
All I have in this world is my thoughts and my words, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night to the bad guy. 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 Come on. Come on.
Look at you now. Look at you now.